We're live. Apologies for the slight delay. This was my fault. I was getting coffee. See, I've got this really nice mug, Griff. Right?
Yeah.
But it's blank on the handle side. However, if you're left-handed or you're drinking left-handed, which no one does that, you get a nice lobster with a nice coffee mark down it.
Yes.
So why have they done that? I mean, clearly to double-side it would cost more money, but surely the design should be on this side. Hold on. I think it's because when you drink it like this, you see the design as you drink it.
Oh. No, that is... Yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
you had to talk it out to like come to the realization.
Yeah. That's very generous of you.
Yeah.
Now, here's another deal, right?
Yeah.
Before we got on air, I told you that I went Christmas shopping.
Right.
Do you get like psyched out and fall apart when, do you call them escalators?
Yeah. Escalators. Yeah.
When an escalator's not working and you have to walk up it,
Yeah.
bad things happen to me.
Really?
I speed up and I don't need to speed up because it stays from me. And then getting off, I like almost
like you kind of
fall off.
Yeah. Do you panic? Does it feel like it's moving even though it's not?
I think it shows how much I really adjust to an actual escalator, which is functioning.
Right. It's just your brain.
It's like it's kind of like vertigo, but with an escalator.
You know what? If you actually got more sleep, your brain probably wouldn't do that to you when you go on them.
Yeah, it's just a lack of sleep. Yeah. I mean, chat, let us know. Is that just an issue unique to me? Stationary escalators cause my brain to melt down, and I'm basically collapsing in the department store.
Yeah.
On my knees.
And everyone's watching.
Yeah, they're all just walking past. Like, what the? Yeah.
Interesting.
Christopher, I hope you enjoyed the Dallas Stars game. Monjombo, yeah, Stafford does look really good. We were saying how it'd be nice if he wasn't. Taylor talking about putting Attack of the Clones on, Griff. Attack of the Clones is a great film.
It's got some redeeming entertainment value. Taylor, good luck. I hope you don't succumb. Maybe have it on in the background while you watch. I don't know. However you jam.
Yeah, you can have... I mean, Griff always says I look like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You do bear a resemblance to a young Ewan McGregor. Matty, say hello there.
No, but that doesn't work because he's from Scotland.
It does work, but he does an English accent for the movies, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, true, he does.
Speaking of, how good is his English accent?
Like, I think it's well, the thing is, if you're from Edinburgh, you basically are English anyway. I think Scottish people would agree with that sentiment.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. But I think he's from Perth, which always looks very nice. But he's certainly learned to soften his accent.
Yeah. And he can probably fall into it. Has he done a movie with his native accent that you know of?
Trainspotting. No, well, that's not his native accent, but
is it a Scottish?
Yeah, and Trainspotting's the film where you said I look like him, and you just told me that I look like Ewan McGregor on Smack.
I mean, even Phantom Menace when he's like in his late 20s.
Right.
You know.
Right. I mean, Attack of the Clones, I have a real soft spot for because Star Wars Battlefront really. The problem was we're the generation where the video games, the toys, everything pushed, like it made the films bigger than they actually were.
Exactly. It interwove in with, because we're like relating the movie to the video games. And when you're little, all you see are, when you're 10 years old, all you see are lightsabers in an arena.
Really cool colors.
Right.
And
pretty
like suddenly,
colors.
like really badly developed characters in the movie actually have a like fleshed out character.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a Seahawks podcast, people. That's the preamble. If you're new to it, then deal with it. Generally, I've tried to start the videos saying what this is. Anyway, we're reviewing the defensive tape tonight where we're going to take a look at Seahawks versus Eagles week 15, how Seattle's defense was able to limit the explosives. Griff keeps smiling, which...
We have a bad faith actor in the chat.
and I can't ban the Twitter comments.
Found the loophole.
Lox Fitzgerald asking what we're talking about. So, Lox, I appreciate perhaps on Twitter you are not able to see what the topic is. Or maybe you are. But we were talking about Star Wars. But now we're talking about how the Seahawks defense held the Eagles to 4 explosives. We're also going to take a look at cool stuff they did in the defense, kind of new stuff, or like specific game plan stuff. How their middle field closed defensive numbers have improved. I don't mean middle field closed. I mean over the middle. How they adjusted in the second half after a shaky start. How that shaky start happened. And then also Clint Hurt had a comment today which was interesting about a type of coverage Seattle was playing, because Clint Hurt always just decides to randomly tell people like a very specific detail about the defense. And then, yeah, he's a good talker. Yeah, we can see the comments on Twitter.
Yes, we can see the...
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately in your case, BH, but there's a certain Oklahoman. An Oklahoma man. Oklahoman. Yeah.
Oklahoman. No, I think you got it. Oklahoman.
Yeah. Who is being a menace. But not the Phantom Menace. Jesus, Jay. Have you seen Jay's comment, Griff?
It's a metaphor that works in terms of what's trying to be conveyed, but it is some
also
choice.
It is, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you'd prefer to have that than that.
Well, actually, some people prefer Phantom Menace over Attack of the Clones.
But in terms of what Jay's comparing those movies to, I don't think anyone prefers...
I mean, from what I don't have any personal experience.
No, of course not.
So I can't draw on my own personal life. However, I do think that syphilis is regarded as the more concerning one than the alternative.
Yeah. Like, I think that will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to confirm that? Do we want to bring our producer on the line, see if they can check that for us?
OG3 proposing we tier rank STDs. Yeah, first pick off the board is... Okay, brilliant.
Good stuff.
Okay, should we start this podcast? It's gone absolutely mad. This is what happened.
I'd say let's start it.
That's not correct, Bryce. Incorrect. Good to see all the returning faces in here. Appreciate the support. Please do like the video because that boosts it. Retweet it if you're on Twitter and like the tweet. Comment and share it with a friend. Here we go. Thank you, Jay, for telling me to get this thing started. Bang.
Oh, I'm trying to. Okay.
What is going on?
I don't know. It freaked out, but I did try to hit Taylor's comment. Hit it, Matty. So now that you've hit it, now that we're here,
that was smooth. Let's do that again for Ty. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where Griffin and I are diving into the Seahawks Week 15 defensive tape of how Seattle was able to really kind of shut down the Philadelphia Eagles offense, particularly in that second half, and they kept the explosives to a low number. We've got some really fun topics to look at. There was some new specific game plan stuff on the Seahawks defense. There was a continuation of their defending passes over the middle of the field improving. We've got data to look at there. And a great graphic that I produced. We've got second half adjustments because the first half was a bit shaky. We've got some troubling plays that they did experience. And we've also got Clint Hurt oversharing again about certain coverage that we should be able to find. And it's kind of insightful for how they approach this game as well from a game planning standpoint. But before that, Griff, the Seahawks practice report is out. And now it makes a big deal about specifying that, yes, Wednesday they did have a practice, but it was only a walkthrough. But today they actually did have a practice. And there was a number of non-participants at that kind of stage in the season. DS Gridge out with a ribs injury. I don't even know how he suffered a ribs injury. It's just kind of a thing, right?
Probably in practice or something.
Yeah, probably.
I mean and if not in practice, he did in theory because it's on the paper.
Yeah. He could have been laughing so hard at our chat. Kenneth Walker, the third, out with the same shoulder injury, which would have seen him non-participant yesterday. So that's slightly concerning, given he came off such a big game. But you'd hope that he's okay. Devin Witherspoon out with that hip pointer. I mean, again, Carroll described it as day-to-day legitimate. I spoke about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It seems ominous, not just for this week, but the rest of the season, which would be a huge loss, obviously.
Right. That would not be good.
No.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it sucks to lose him, but then also the knock-on effect of you become less versatile too. It's not just the player replacing him. You have to shrink the stuff you can call a little bit.
Definitely. And then Julian Love, birth of his child. So congratulations to him if that had happened yet. But personal matter. Frank Clark out with an illness. Hopefully he feels better soon. I know he didn't play many snaps this past week. And then finally, Bobby Wagner resting. So there's nothing too severe there. Trey Brown limited dealing with that heel knee. Leonard Williams dealing with that ankle. Abraham Lucas showing up with the knee is a bit concerning. I know it's something he's going to have to manage, but...
Yeah, I imagine it's just like general load management, I hope.
Yeah. Because what was nice about this past game, and as I said yesterday, they had 5 offensive linemen play 100% of the snaps, and it was basically their best 5 that's available to them. Obviously, Phil Haynes is on IR at the moment, but...
Right.
I mean, the Lucas thing, the way he speaks about it sounds like in the off-season he's going to have a procedure at some point.
Really?
So,
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he said he will like get it taken care of in the off-season, like in a more permanent way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, God knows what these guys get up to, but...
Right.
Some wacky thing, maybe. And then Evan Brown limited, with an illness. Full participants. Yesterday, I was silly, and I didn't mention that Geno Smith was a full participant with a groin injury, which saw him miss last game. That is obviously very significant news.
Right. Yeah, and I think they said that they went a little easy on him. Like Pete kind of mentioned that a little bit, but who knows what that means. I'm just going to assume he's full go and everything. It might mean less boots. Not that they do it like, a lot of boots in a game is like 4, right? You don't do it 10 times a game anyway. So it may only mean 1. It may not mean any. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, hearing him speak yesterday, it sounded like he was really happy to play and on Monday. And he said how he didn't feel that much different to Monday.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of his groin, but they were just cautious and they'd built lock up into that opportunity. And then they were surprised at how good Geno looked on the Monday. And the fact it was wet became a kind of decisive factor as well.
Yeah, the rain might have pushed them over. And Pete mentioned the trainers said there's just too much risk with a potential setback because the
Yeah.
game would be more load than anything he had done prior to that point. So
Yeah, it's one of those, if you didn't have 3 other really important games remaining in the season, maybe you push through it. Say if it's a playoff game, and I understand it was a must-win game, but say it's a playoff game where it's do or die, like literally, maybe
yeah,
he would have played. Anyway, so fairly positive news. Other than Artie Burns, it looks like it's going to have to be a very significant player down the stretch,
right.
which we weren't really thinking was going to be the case coming into the year, but he was solid enough.
Yeah, and you know he raises the floor a little bit, which is good. Um, you wonder how Jarek Reed would have factored into this. I think we think he can do a little bit of anything, slot, you know, free safety, strong safety, one high, two high. But obviously he was kind of in the mix at nickel too, right? So I'd be curious to see if we would have seen him because he would have gotten real game action. And it's too bad he's hurt because, I mean, like you said, he's flying on special teams, and his preseason playing regular safety stuff and nickel stuff was good. So
Yeah, that is an interesting one, isn't it? I wonder, would they have, trusted him, or would I mean, it probably would have been Burns as the first guy up, but they may well have held a bit of a competition or
for sure,
something.
for sure, right. But we won't know. So here's to Artie and Kobe to an extent.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so the defense in this Philadelphia Eagles victory, they only allowed 4 explosive plays. One of those came right at the end, a Jalen Hurts 20-yard scramble, the play before he threw the game-ending interception. Then 2 on the first drive, 13-yard Hurts keeper, like designed run. Then a Dallas Goddard 18-yard catch. Goddard?
Goddard, I think.
Yogurt. Inside Bobby Wagner, where it's pretty obvious. And then there was one more, Devonta Smith.
What was it?
5:43 in the third quarter for 17 yards.
Okay. Yeah, their OC and the Eagles, like they didn't really even try to go over the top other than the sideline. Like they didn't really run anything else. No
Brian
overs,
Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. So there wasn't anything going on other than just playing the sideline, and it just wasn't available. The corners did well. They weren't really tested except for when they absolutely had to. So in that sense, schematically, it was kind of easy. Obviously, in the drop back game, the Eagles don't do a whole lot anyway, and this game was like an extreme version of that. They literally did not run a single drop back concept until like the fourth quarter that wasn't Hank or a variation of Hank. Which
like
is
deep
just,
Hank, right?
Yeah, right. Like, which is curl flat. You're running curls on the sideline. You have your tight end or number 3 receiver running like a little over the ball hook route where they literally run to where the center was aligned pre-snap and just turn around and sit. And then you've got flat routes. Occasionally they would have it where one guy's running a slant or a dig instead if they get cover 3 or something or man. To have a man beater, but that was all they were trying to do. So it made it extremely easy for the defense to stay organized. And like they bottled them up. At that point, it becomes about execution, right? Who's just going to outplay who? And like Hurts's passing numbers were not good. His dropback numbers were because of his scrambles, beefing it up. But the actual yards per attempt were low, like you said. Very few explosives. So, and that's a hard group because they get explosive just by virtue of AJ Brown being AJ Brown and Devontae Smith being Devontae Smith and Jalen being able to have good placement on go balls. It wasn't there. It wasn't available. And that was with their, backup corners even, which they earned being out there, right? But still. So.
Yeah, it was. I I mean, you like Hank, right? But building a whole offense out of it is kind of odd. You think it's more of a complementary piece or like a kind of reliable chunk yardage play, but to do it as often as they did was super weird. And while this Seahawks defensive performance is impressive, and while coming into this, I was afraid because the Eagles have a lot of talent, and that's kind of the theory behind them, right? Like,
Right.
you know, regardless of their struggles, they have Jason Kelsey, who in this game did really impressive things too. They have Jalen Hurts, who has been very productive and causes kind of a unique challenge, or somewhat unique challenge with his mobility. You got Smith, who's an absolute burner, and then AJ Brown, who's top 5 wide receiver in the league.
Right.
So that was scary coming in, but my takeaway afterwards is this Eagles offense is broken. Like it's got all the kind of trademarks of a broken offense, like really bad receiver spacing, guys running into each other, broken routes, and then just kind of getting stuck in a rut of the same concepts. So we can get excited about what Seattle's defense did, but it's also nice that they were facing an offense which wasn't like red hot.
Right. It was a good offense to play in terms of measuring your talent, like a measuring stick talent wise, because schematically it was all so simple. You weren't losing because of like, well, did they give up a bunch of yards because they're just not being assignment sound, like the play caller broke their rules or something, or reflective of a coaching staff that can't get them prepared for the tendencies that follow from down and distance, other context, formation, et cetera, or is it just, can the players play and can the coaches coach them to play the technique they need to play based off of something that's simple to defend? And it expresses the talent quickly, immediately. And so, this game was kind of a, confirmation of like, yeah, they can teach press corner. Yeah, they can teach, how to string out, the RPOs and how to, bottle up Jalen Hurts and et cetera, right? When he extends outside of the pocket. So can they run and hit? Can they tackle when it's the flat and Hank? Can they tackle, right? And so, yeah, apparently they can. There's a lot more that needs to be confirmed, but it was an encouraging defensive day, I think, all in all. So
I should also say schematically, even though Hertz does present a challenge, I feel with what Seattle does, like what they major in their defensive scheme. I mean, I said going into this game that I didn't feel the Eagles were like a bad matchup. Like it felt like a good kind of on paper schematic matchup for Seattle, who think like shotgun heavy. They don't really want to run the football, and when they do, it's fairly obvious when it's about to happen. Even though the Eagles did have success on the ground in this game, but like I mean, they had like basically structurally Seattle. They get into difficulties when they don't know whether it's run or pass, because there's certain runs where they have to kind of change something up front, but they don't know what the right moment is to do that. But against offenses like the Eagles, they kind of give away when they need to do that thing up front, and so it allows them to kind of, yeah.
Good point. Yeah, like you said, the pre-game assessment of the matchups indicated certain things, and the game played out that way. Like the Eagles, their pure non-play action early down offense is not good. The Seahawks early down non-play action pass defense isn't very good. So, who wins that battle? It could be a toss-up, but when in Seattle's favor. The Eagles have good play action offense. The Seahawks have good play action defense. So it wasn't like they won the matchups that were winnable. It wasn't like they pulled a performance out of their hat that doesn't match who they are. It wasn't like they did poorly in an area where they actually do well, right? And where the other team typically doesn't do well. Like the Ravens game was an example of that, even though the Ravens are still better than the Eagles. Like, and I said in my first podcast back a couple of weeks ago or last week, the Ravens did, leading up to that game, there were things the Ravens didn't do well in the same area where the Seahawks did do well. And the Ravens still won that matchup that day. So like there wasn't anything like that going on in this game. Like, so to your point, if you were to make like a pregame assessment of, well, what about this bucket and that bucket, the Seahawks performed how you would hope they could. And it wasn't just pure wish casting. So it was good to kind of like finally have a game where it's like, all right, they're playing up to their talent level. They're playing up to what they can do. They have staying power over the course of the game, etc.
Absolutely. So, Griff, should we start with the kind of fun stuff that they did game plan specific wise for the Eagles, or should we look at this middle area pass defense stuff?
Let's do, what do you want to do? It's up to you.
Okay, let's do the middle area pass defense stuff because
do
it's
it.
some data, and we've been starting the stuff with data. So, Griff, this is something that you first spotted, and I'd love your thoughts on this. Is this like, how real is this? So, the Seahawks middle area pass defense. This is data via Sports Info Solutions, who someone in the chat is a representative of, one of our menaces. But SIS does great work, and as does the Menace. And Griff, you were banging on all of last year about how the middle areas of the field, so SIS charts it as left middle, right middle, and middle. Seattle's pass defense, defending passes which travel 10 to 20 air yards, so 10 to 20 yards in the air, that bracket. Seattle was elite. They were minus 0.11 in EPA per play, which is first in the entire NFL. And in points saved per play, which is SIS's metric, they were 0.022, which came in fifth. So they were very, very good.
Extremely good.
And a lot of that, Griff, was just them being able to play really damn reliable cover of three.
And half quarter. Just, I mean,
with Cody Barton walling the weak
seam.
Yeah.
Your nickel was carrying, the weak seam well. Kobe got better at it throughout the year. You had Brooks finding the dig route, the in-breaking dig route, all that stuff. They generated turnovers too, even. They had the ability to spin weak, with their safeties when they had speed at 3 and they wanted to do that, etc. So they just had so many different guys that could do it. And then this year, this year, we've got Cody Barton isn't on the team anymore, and you replace him with Bobby Wagner, who doesn't have, current 2023 Bobby Wagner just can't do as many things in coverage. Then you've also moved Brooks off of Mike and moved him to Will. Then you're also playing Dime a lot, so he's coming off the field. And so you're just, and that doesn't mean the guy replacing him isn't capable, but it's just, you can only do so much schematically. That's part of the point. That's why there's a recent turnaround in the last few games. It's them acknowledging that it's a problem area, and Clint Hurtt showing that he can attack a problem with what's available to him schematically. And Matty, I know you want to talk about that, but it starts the source issue are the players available to you, and it's an ode to the fact that middle linebackers matter, and the NFL right now they matter. They're important. So
the good ones matter.
The good the bad ones matter too, and the fact that because you can only do so much. And the other lesson is like people say, well, what's a similar enough scheme, at least coverage scheme? The 2020 Rams, like they didn't have good linebackers, that's true, but they were able to overcompensate for that in other areas, and it's ferocious pass rush.
Yeah,
and then DBs
playing
that stayed
5
healthy, right? And in the Seahawks case, they have a good enough pass rush, but not good enough to overcome particularly detrimental hook play.
And what the Rams would do as well is when they the ferocious pass rush, but ferocious pass rush, also ferocious front talent, so they'd be able to just play more like straight up cover 4 with an odd front look, right? Basically.
Yeah.
So you're kind of asking less of your linebackers. But then when you get in clear passing downs, well, you just play man to man, and you don't have to worry about stuff as much over the middle because it's the pass rush again is reliable at kind of forcing that low percentage outside the number stuff.
Right.
Now, what's been remarkable this season, and Taylor, thank you for the kind words on the graphic design. I mean, this looks okay. I mean, Griff had a valuable input here. I think this looks okay.
It looks great. It looks very good.
Thank
you
you.
slap that together. I mean, you make do. You London boys make do.
What? What are you talking about? What?
I'm just adding some cheer to the episode.
Yeah, true. You did.
I'm
I'm
just
gonna have
trying
to. What does that mean? Timothy, thank you. The stats are sick, and what really stands out is obviously there was some turnover when it came to Seattle's linebacker duo. And Brandon, I've seen your question. I'll get to that. There was some turnover, and Cody Barton departed. They decided not to pay him. He went to Washington, and Seattle brought back Bobby Wagner. And it's been notable to us how Bobby Wagner has his difficulties because, lo and behold, he can't move the way he used to be able to. And the middle of the field was getting picked on. In fact, in the first 9 games of the season, in this 10 to 20 air yards middle area of the field bracket that Griffin had been so proud of in 2022, in the first 9 games of 2023, they were 21st in EPA per play from falling 20 spots with 0.49 EPA per play. And their points saved per play, slightly better, but 16th, so middle tier, which is just a crazy fall from grace.
And I don't think it's a matter of like lack of organization or lack of calls. It's really the same enough stuff where you're just not playing each individual zone as well as you were. Like, it's just that combination. Like, good zone coverage is multiple guys, multiple people doing what they need to do at the right time and, being just so, like choreography. And it's, they just haven't had that. And so anyway.
Yeah. However, in the last 5 games, Seattle has massively improved. So over the last 5 games, Seattle's got minus 0.46 EPA per play, which is crazy, 3rd highest in the league. And their point saved per play is 0.610, which somehow is only 7th best. I don't understand this. Is the whole league just cracked at this area of pass defense over the last 5 games? They must be.
Yeah, and I mean, and then the other thing of like middle of the field defenses, this window is just trying to capture an element. It's not necessarily a direct measurement. Sometimes it's one player is responsible, that route exits the area. That doesn't mean that player is no longer not responsible, right? Like it can hit on the numbers, but it's technically an over the middle concept. So it's just like, I use those filters because it's the only way to kind of communicate the point. I like taking global stats. This is a global stat, it's not an individual player's stat, right? It's a global stat, and you can take a couple different ones and layer them on top of each other and statistically, sing a song, right? And I think that's just more informative than saying, hey, what's this player's target charting stats? Because that's just useless to me, just utterly useless, But still, like, yeah, I mean, I think it paints a picture, and I do think that they are improving on it. And do you want to talk about why you feel? I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Well, they've had this coverage tool where it's simple. It's, say you're in cover 3, and you spin one of the safeties down into one of the hooks. And one of the main areas in the middle of the field is where you kind of get, hit gashed right at the intermediate, or it usually attacks the strong hook or middle hook of cover 3, right? And so Bobby often finds himself in the strong hook, being the mic, and he's basically not getting enough depth, or if he's not getting enough width at times. Sometimes he's getting too much width, and then the dig route bends over the top of him. Again, it's like a good zone drop is being in the right spot at the right time based off of the indicators. It's a step to your left, a step to your right, 1 yard deeper, 1 yard more shallow at the right time is what determines it. It's not static, right? Like, good zone dropping, good spot dropping is not static. It's very much on the move. This is something that Bobby used to be much better. I mean, really good at, and something KJ Wright at his best was incredibly good at. And so, like, we're using these guys as our points of reference to like explain to the best we can why they're no longer good at it, because we're using their own play, their own younger self to describe it, right? So basically, to try to take Bobby out of those positions, they're spinning strong, having Quandre Diggs in particular spin down into that strong hook. So in cover 3, if we think 4 underneath defenders, there are 2 outside curl flat zones. And then the 2 interior zones are called the hook zones, distributed kind of equally. And so the strong hook is to the side of where there are more receivers, and the weak hook is opposite that. So when Bobby's the strong hook, it's kind of a problem. So they spin strong. The safety comes, plays the strong hook, and Bobby bumps over to the adjacent weak hook. And there are potential issues with that, because if he's the weak hook, that means he has to carry a seam route, right? So Clint Hurt has to be careful to make sure he's doing it at the right time when he thinks the offense is showing a formation where they're going to attack that strong hook. And so he's doing it to good effect. So Matty, I think you notice that they're playing more cover 3 strong buzz than they have been, spinning from depth, and that's been one of the reasons why they've been able to fix this.
Yeah, well, I said before the first 49ers game that 3 buzz was slowly working its way into the kind of menu. And I mean, Greg Olson, it's kind of fun to, well, it's fun to bash any of the announcers, but to his credit, in that first 49ers game, he picked up on it very quickly that was how the 49ers were getting done. Like, remember, George Kittle got smacked 3 plays in a row. Now, one of those plays was cover 4, but you can kind of get a similar effect. Well, it was a fire zone, but it was the cover 4 safety coming down to hit Kittle. But I think that while so what happens is, as you said, there's a safety, there's a linebacker for we'll try and we should be able to find an example. But essentially, this is the curl flat, this is the hook curl, this guy goes to the post, this guy comes down into the hook, like this linebacker's in a hook, and then this guy plays a curl flat. So I think if we think about the plays that they've given up instead, those, when you're playing 3 buzz and you're helping out Bobby Wagner, but you're also getting a safety body type, the plays they've given up instead have either just been bad assignment issues down the field, so Reek Willing getting done for defensive pass interference all the way down the field because he's kind of been beat and then he didn't get his head around, he panicked with the timing of the throw. Jamal Adams playing 3 weak buzz because he's coming down as the weak hook, and then busting his coverage, kind of like overplaying the wrong route, not playing his assignment. Ball gets thrown way downfield, way past that 10 to 20 yard range. But also, this type of stuff opens up one-on-ones. If they see the safety rotation correctly, it opens stuff closer to the numbers. So away from where that middle of the field, left middle, central middle, right middle is, and kind of stuff more out to the numbers where teams can play a bit more isolation football. So I think that's sort of how teams have started attacking Seattle. But what was cool in this game against the Eagles is, and I don't know if they ran as much 3 buzz in this game, but they were still solid in their over-the-middle pass defense. But also they kind of, there was a bit of ISO ball going on as we spoke about, and that's kind of how the Eagles got their production. But it's also how Seattle, was able to have Mike Jackson delivering big hits on guys on the outside, and they kind of held up okay.
Yeah, when you can operate with assumptions, I think, as a defense collectively, when you can take away something and you're taking it away, you then funnel what they can do, and that lets you be more aggressive toward what you've funneled them to, right? So like the Legion of Boom days, they weren't just good at defending the primary ways that teams like to attack cover 3 because they knew they were so good at it. They just knew offenses just gave up attacking those areas, with the exception of like 1 or 2 teams. And then because of that, they became even more bold at other things. So it's like compounds positively, positive feedback loop. And one of the best working assumptions you can have for any defense is having a pass rush. That shrinks an offense up pretty good too. So the more assumptions you can work with, the more things you can hang your hat on, the more you can kind of, you use it as your pivot foot, right? And then you can do more with your off leg, your off foot, whatever. I've been using a basketball analogy, but anyway, you've got an anvil and you've got a hammer. The assumptions are the whatever. You get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did fine. You did fine.
Next, I was
Okay.
going to relate it to the Avignon papacy, but I decided against it.
That's okay. Another day. You've never spoke about that before, so maybe save it.
Yeah.
Right. So things got started and transitioning here slightly, but I think that kind of thing we spoke about will come up throughout the game because it's kind of something that the defense is being able to hang their hat on. Things got started in a bit of scary fashion. So this is the first play of the game. And Jalen Hurts is able to keep the football on a keeper. They get a number to the B-gap bubble, which has been a problem for Seattle. And he's able to keep the football, arc release for big yardage. And that's difficult.
So the mechanic is here scrape exchange?
Yeah,
or are
so
they having surf?
This is this big... Oh, that's a bit big now. This is this big B-gap bubble we speak about. How about we go here? There we go. Big B-gap bubble, right? It's the nickel front. Here's Artie Burns, the nickel. The nickel always goes to the passing strength. 4 guys down at line of scrimmage. And what Griff's saying is with how Maffei kind of takes the air out of this, but then when this block as well goes inside, it's like he is the B-gap player, basically, and Bobby Wagner has to stack the gap, and then when it's handed off, scrape outside and replace Maffei. And that's kind of how they played it with Brooks, etc., right?
Well, yeah. Well, and with the motion, technically the nickel is the D-gap player, right? He's in the fit. He's the 7th fitter, the primary fitter. The weak safety is not still, right?
Oh yeah, no, the weak safety, no.
He's just help. So 23 there, Artie. He technically has to fit outside leverage on the tight end. So that allows Maffei to crash, and then Bobby has to scrape over.
Yeah.
So Bobby's he's the QB player here. He's got to.
Yeah.
I mean, the scheme calls on him to make the play here, and he's held a little bit, maybe.
Kind of held.
It's not gonna.
But he's also playing like the back has the ball, like his eyes are.
Yeah. If Bobby's a step quicker to recognizing it, he gets going immediately. And if Artie can play through the block, which I think you want the nickel to play through the block instead of like speed rip outside to cut off the width, you probably string this out better. And there is an example later where I think Brooks is the QB player and just so happens to work out that way. What's crazy, man, is like Bobby used to, I mean, Colin Kaepernick is going to get anybody, right? But like Bobby used to kill this, right? During the Kaepernick years, he'd destroy it.
Yeah, he's just a step slow mentally and physically here.
Yeah, on this one, his eyes are clearly lost. I'm curious why. Why would he be?
Because, if he knows that he's got the dive, then trust your teammate.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, man. He's kind of not playing with any trust there. Like right now, he has no vision. Like it makes sense that because he literally misses it because Maffei's in front of him. But why isn't he playing the rule? Like it doesn't make sense to know he needs to scrape over the top of lane instead of staying in the B gap. But then to still keep your eyes like there, it doesn't make sense. So.
Yeah, there's a few plays like that in this game.
And then you also have Maffei, the dive player, almost outrunning Bobby back to the quarterback. It's just like, and I know it's one play, but there are 2 other plays like this with Bobby where Jalen keeps it, and it's just like, man, the scheme needs better mic play. It just does.
All right. But that being said, I did find what they did to fit the QB run a bit, kind of a smart adjustment. Is clearly they game planned it. So 3rd and 4 here. This is base defense. Hold on. 3rd and 4. 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 3r Yeah, base under. So here are the tight ends. This is the one tech shade. Here's our 4-eye player, like our big end. Here's our 3 tech. Here's our used to be the Leo, but outside backer, and here's our Sam, but outside backer.
So yeah, this right here is just like the old Red Bryant days, except your Leo's standing up instead of his hand in the dirt.
Yeah.
It's
Which does
no
make a
different.
difference, doesn't it, at times?
Yeah, I mean there are minute differences and stuff, but like the interior of it is no different.
So I wondered here if, again, the design is for Bobby to scrape exchange off here, but this is another example of him dipping outside. Diggs actually fills his gap, but I don't know if it's because it's a goal line play and they arc release here.
I thought, because they're in base, I thought Mafe was actually surfing. Because Mafe, I mean, which
Yeah, so
means
just
Mafe's a
right.
2-for-1 player. So then Bobby just needs to hit he just
Yeah,
needs to hit it.
but like, that,
And now
that's
maybe he knows Diggs is nearby and can be aggressive. So maybe Bobby's
yeah,
like extra.
yeah. I wondered that.
Then
But
I
what's
thought
cool?
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I thought maybe one other thought I had was your field boundary. That's not a lot of space to the sideline. Maybe they thought.
Because typically, guys, if QB run wasn't like a problem here, this would be one back, so one gap. This guy could come across and then it changes things slightly, but he doesn't. So essentially, Bobby would have this B gap. Maybe he's playing off his kind of 5 tech 4-eye type, but
Yeah, but he is
in that,
power stepping, right?
yeah, you just expect him to fit down and him to fit down. Obviously, you have to be aware of the zone path, but you'd expect them to stack their gap more. Like Brooks stacked his gap, and I know he's front side, but clearly this is kind of funky, and I think it is to play. Yeah, again,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
comes.
he's just playing it conservatively. So
Yeah, it's third and
whatever.
4. Like, I don't know.
Right. Diggs makes a good fill. But
Now I like this play, Griff, because Bobby actually play. It's the same alignments and everything, same formation. It's base under again. Now watch here how Bobby plays in his gap and Diggs plays the QB keeper.
yeah, interesting.
So this is a smart play for like goal line option defense.
Yeah, let your free safety be the extra player.
Yeah,
Because now you're even, I think, or you might even be +1.
right. Because when you're in a closed structure, this guy kind of has to be the quarterback player if you want to have a guy for every gap. And they're intent on running it, especially in the short yardage. So
Also,
again,
I like how you can see how Reed is one gapping power stepping, but it's a tighter power step, and he's tighter to the center. So we kind of
because of
see their
back
nose there.
location
Yeah,
and turning immediately to drop
and
the
just
knee.
knowing he's getting a heavy combo, right on
Yeah.
him. So it's more like it's not two gapping, but it's just heavier one gap play.
Yeah, they understood from the splits here. I mean, Edwards also understands. That is a crazy play from Jordan Brooks.
That's him in his old stomping grounds. No pun intended. That was in college.
Yeah, he did this so often, didn't he?
where he just moves laterally really
Like
well, reading the play out. 'Cause he doesn't really have
right,
a
like
gap.
cloudy, very cloudy, very
It's
cloudy.
cloudy
There's the
again.
ball.
It's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. I mean, because he's playing one gap technique here. It's just sometimes other rules and techniques can make it look like something else. Like that looks like a two gap being a ball fitting linebacker, but he's not. He's just fitting off of a gap, fitting off of the next gap because his
Yeah.
gap changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the linebacker skills are nuts. And you know who also is like really skilled at that, all memes aside, in the box is Jamal Adams.
Yep.
Like it's almost, I think Jamal at his best, it has a very diverse and complete safety skill set, but it is almost a shame that he isn't like 6'2", 230, 235, that his body can't carry that weight, because he'd be an amazing linebacker. He's just too light to be an actual linebacker full time. But like strong safeties need to have a linebacker skill set to a degree. That's what strong safeties need to do in any system. They still have to be able to have those elements to their game. He just happens to have that in spades when he's actually on the field at that part.
Mm-hmm. So Brandon put in the chat that on the first drive, the defensive attention to detail was absolutely appalling. I hated it so much. There were certain plays on the drive where it just felt they were situationally so poor. I mean, I tweeted it live that it was dreadful situational defense. And I kind of agree, but...
Well, and it was 2 third down conversions that did
Yeah.
not need to happen this game, right? This opening drive. Like it was all Eagles were all dink and dunk, just play small ball, feel it out, establish, tendencies. Because out of those same formations, they'd run this play 100 times. And then this is like inverted Hank.
Yeah.
And by inverted, normally it's the outside receiver running the curl, the number 2 slot running the flat, but this time they reverse it or invert it.
Yeah. So you get like a Hoss effect.
Right. And it's a really good way to stress smash rules from the perimeter corner. I think they're in cover 3 here. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good way. Brooks is responsible for this dude vertical. So he's always going to pedal back. The guy who can make the plays, the strong hook. But Bobby just doesn't have the click and close. Like, compare how he breaks to this compared to Brooks.
And I really hate Bobby's initial alignment. Why is he outside the hash? I mean,
it's a wide detached split to the field, right? Like you'd expect him more here.
I mean, I think on paper, it's you line up just inside your 3.
Yeah, so here.
And he's outside the 3.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I don't understand what is he cheating to? Is he cheating a stick? But the Eagles don't run stick.
He must be.
Right? Like a stick from 3. So
yeah.
if he can almost, like, what happened to the reroutes? Like they used to bump the heck out of 3. Like, especially, is that AJ Brown in the slot? Like you bump 3, then melt 2. You start inside the hash. Because even if he starts inside the hash and melts, he can still melt back quicker. So
yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
Like he's expecting more like this, and then he's worried about having to take this back through. So he's trying to cheat his alignment for that. You see how it's like, because they do like running like that, and then that, right?
Yeah.
So
cross shallow.
Because look, as soon as this guy clears, he glances for 2.
I almost wonder though, Bobby is still almost out leveraging himself to a potential shallow from 2, because
he is, because he's so wide.
The closer you start to it, the less cushion you have. It's just like it's the same principle as off coverage, but on the horizontal plane instead of the vertical plane. He's been doing this all year. I don't understand it. And like clearly he knows where he's lining up. Like it's not like he doesn't, he's doing it for a reason.
Here, right?
Right. I don't know where it is. And that would squeeze the 3 better. And like they know what the Eagles run. They're running
your landmark for the field hook co in the NFL anyway would be, obviously you're relating to 3, but you'd be 1 yard inside the hash, wouldn't you?
That's what they've been. So I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know what he's cheating
wide.
to.
I mean, it's so wide that even if our faces aren't here,
maybe he's cheating to the bubble, a bubble screen. Maybe that's what he's.
3rd and 6, yeah, possibly.
You know what it also screws you with is the quarterback draw, the
Yeah,
stick draw.
yeah.
Like it's just very, it's putting your chips in one basket that is not like the most dangerous thing that could happen to you.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's unfortunate. I don't like what even it's like, this is a small thing, right? But it's even the little things are just off. There's just something off about it.
Like this as well is like, I don't understand when threes crossed your face like that, why are you pure zone dropping like this?
They do run dagger occasionally, and I think he's playing the dig window because later he does play the dig windows right. But obviously, but I think with this call though, you clearly have the nickel playing heavy on two. So the dig is kind of taken care of by the nickel. That should allow the mic to play a different kind of hook.
Hmm. Yeah, and so Clint Hurt today, the comment he mentioned was how they were playing coverage to 11. So the Fangio tree has this thing called Zeus. Oh, Zeus. And then the number of a player. So all it means is wherever AJ Brown went on the field, Seattle, when they're in middle field open coverage like they are here, would shade their coverage to AJ Brown. So when he's the isolated player, they'll play cover 2 over on this side. So a cloud to him, with this guy really worrying about him even more so, and this guy really worrying about him, not really zoning off too much. If he was on this side of the field, they'd play cover 2 if it was a normal split. But if he's like, say, the trips bunch guy, they'll play box cover 4, where this dude is basically really aggressive to that guy. So it's a way of basically playing the coverage to basically be an absolute nuisance for this dude at all times. And so I believe that's what happens here. If we watch the safeties communicate, well, yeah, I think that's and I think that's why I mentioned that is I think that's why the dime as well is so consciously worried about staying. I mean, he's relating to the two, isn't he? But I think he's really he doesn't want to pack too tight here, even though he's, yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you're
He
weak
needs to
side
be here.
defenders, yeah. So on the front side or the passing strength?
This is 4.
Okay? So then they have a C match then for like a
Yeah.
bracket then.
And I think this is box. So I think this is how box looks.
Um,
Oh, maybe no, it's not. No, it's not.
well, it's the trips version of it. So that's man match, but it's the zone match version of like stump basically,
Yeah, which again is
which is
why
with the
like
off corner
play
where
to the
Stubby
3.
is the press corner. Yeah, so Bobby kind of has to know he has to close off the the weak dime, basically the will, the jack, Kobe. I mean, yeah, you want to constrict that. And Matty, I did put in the chat an example
Oh,
of Brooks and Ryan Neal playing this better against the Chargers last year. The difference between the two is just, and now it is from trips, so it's not from trips. I mean, now look at you. No, it is from trips. So look at Brooks, like drop underneath it and then bend back. So he forces him to stem over the top instead of stemming under him.
yeah, because when it goes under, it eventually gets to your blind spot at like the wrong point.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're under, your kind of body relation to the root is more preferable.
Yeah. Like Neal pushing from the curl to the hook area almost is like brilliant. and then Brooks forces the more
Yeah,
front side throw.
And the tight split here helps Neil get more involved.
True, that's very true. Because otherwise his initial alignment would be wider. That's true.
Yeah. Oh, Twitter's broken. Great app.
Yeah.
Great
but either way, we still see how Brooks plays that way differently.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Bobby thing just needs to he kind of just needs to get back to the basics with when it comes to the alignment stuff. But I think that's hard when he knows obviously that he's trying to compensate for other things.
Yeah.
All right, shall we get to some of the cool new stuff? Well, it's not new, but we've talked about
I will say Bobby does do things, especially in the final couple drives. He does play his zones better. Like he finds it, he knows like, all right, they're in pure drop back, have to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
They run a couple of different dagger combinations. He's in the dig window, like good, you know. So I'm not just ragging on him, but it's like that's kind of what happens where he gets better throughout the game when he figures out how they're attacking him. But it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, but the cool stuff, the change ups.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the first drive, so you might not think it's a good example, but it shows how Seattle does have, like they still have tools that we haven't really seen yet, and this is an example. So this is really cool. So I'll just play it through, and then we'll see how cool this is.
This was that Brooks play I was talking about.
Yeah, but this is filthy. So first of all, guys, this is middle field open defense. So we're playing 3/2 here. And that's actually interesting. This is like a stack adjustment.
Yeah, wait, what is the coverage? Is Love playing? This is messed up. Is this a bust? A cool bust?
No, I would think it's like 2, but to a stack here, and then it's cover 4 2. Here, right?
Okay.
With then Brooks as the, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's like some sort of specialized red 2, red zone cover 2, red 2.
I think it's just cover 4 up here.
Well, I mean cover 2 on the bottom. Cover
right.
4
Yeah.
So
yeah.
cover 6, classic 6.
And you've got, because you're playing 4 over here, you can very easily get this guy here in the B gap bubble. But what's cool about this chat is conventionally, right? This guy would have the B gap. This guy would be responsible for the quarterback. Then you'd have to try and fit him in here, and you'd try and fit him in here, but they're really spread out, and they might throw the bubble. So how do you get the numbers advantage still here and here and here? How would you play 3/2, 3/2, but also account for the fact that they've got this guy who's a threat to run the ball along with this guy, so they're kind of cheating with the numbers? Well, what you could do is you could pirate stunt, so slant the 3-tech and the outside backer, and have this guy play the quarterback, which pushes him closer to his coverage responsibility here, right? Mm-hmm. So you can get the 3/2 still. But if you do something like this, where you slant them like on a pirate stunt immediately inside, that makes, as Carl Scott would say, the ball rule off the table. It happens too fast, and it means this guy has to make a decision a lot quicker. You could slowly do it, but again, it probably happens too quickly. So what they do instead is like a pop stunt or a tackle end stunt, where this guy plays the edge and Darryl Taylor loops inside to the B gap to play the dive, and it screws with their zone blocking scheme. So Brooks is able to basically pure ball fit and play off this stunt, but then he can retrace back outside. So watch the end exchange. Taylor would have had the dive, and because it's cover 2 down here.
And this is triple option, right?
Yeah, and this is a great way of defending spread triple option. So here's a good angle.
It feels like it should almost force the give read. Because if he sees that much jersey flash into the C gap, Hurts does, he would think, oh, I need to hand this off, because he doesn't necessarily know what Taylor's doing. He sees Edwards.
I guess he thinks he's better.
Yeah. And then Brooks comes down. I mean, this is just Brooks being really reactive. And go ahead.
Notice, chat, how it really screws with the guard, because the guard is on a zone path. He's thinking about this dude. When this guy goes away, he's then thinking, I can climb to Jordan Brooks. Meanwhile, Taylor's the one cutting through this level, and Brooks is able to retrace back as the outside guy. So it's really swapping who has what. So it's changing the angles and the levels of your defense. So Taylor has the dive, Brooks has the QB keeper, and this guard who thinks he's blocking Brooks like this is actually giving up this. So that's called a pop stunt, and I haven't seen Seattle use it we haven't seen a situation for this to happen, but that is a good way of playing QB keeper. Read option teams you're basically cheating the numbers to allow you to stay sound on the quarterback keeper, and then if they want to pitch it on the pitch.
Yeah. And so we've seen them have a lot of different schematic answers for this, especially in the red zone. Like with the free safety getting involved, they've surfed, they've scraped exchange, they have this pop stunt.
Yep.
So it's not like they had a thorough game plan for it.
Yeah. Now, when it mattered most, Griff, I felt also that the pass rush got going. And this is another new thing that I found cool. So this is a 3rd and 7. And this game saw dime defense return. Now, this is Bobby Wagner technically playing as the outside linebacker. Here's an interior defensive lineman. Here's an interior defensive lineman. Here's an interior defensive lineman. Here's Boye Mafe. So it's like a 5-0 look. So 5 guys down, 0 backers. We got our dime back Kobe Bryant on the field. We've got our nickel on the field. We've got 6 DBs.
Yeah.
And so using Wagner like this, rather than asking him to play in man coverage on a tight end, or even asking him to play as a wrap, but actually rushing him in a different way to what we've seen so far, is a cool concept. What does this do? Show him 5 down. Well, they're an empty, so they've only got 5 in protection. And when you put 5 guys down like this, you're going to force them just to play man pass pro. So man, 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 man. And so from here, rather than just all rushing upfield, instead you can run like your pick and rolls, your rubs, your pass rush movements. So, this was a really important play. It was 3rd and 7. Seattle needed the ball back. There's only 2 minutes, 46 seconds left in the game. They absolutely had to get off the field here. Otherwise, also field goal range, etc., etc. And this is the perfect way to do it. We'll talk about the coverage in a bit, but Wagner's looping round while they're also running. Yeah, it's like a pick for Wagner.
Mm-hmm. What is Hurts doing? What is he doing, man? He's not playing quarterback.
Yeah, as soon as he sees this flash of color from Wagner, he's like, flash of color, he's like, I'm leaving.
That is so early to do this, man. I think he thinks, all right, and there's no wrap player. I can scramble for yards. I can run for yards right now. I think that was what he had in mind. He said, if no one drops out, I'm running. Because it's man, he's going to get man coverage.
Right.
But what he should have done was he should have stayed in the pocket, slid to his left, and fire the dig route to A.J. Brown. That's what needed to happen.
Yeah, and Leonard Williams is such an impressive athlete to be able to do this.
And if we're wondering like why is the Eagles pass offense so narrow in scope? Why do they run so many half field reads, etc.? It's because Jalen Hurts does this when they call this stuff.
It reminds me of a certain someone.
Yeah, you have a high-low. And so then Eagles fans are going to have a debate that's going to rage for the next 5 years, just like they did with Carson Wentz. Is the play calling the problem? The play calling sucks. Well, why does the play calling suck? Why does it look the way it does? Well, the quarterback has certain strengths and certain weaknesses. They are going to have the exact same experience for slightly different reasons, but they're going to have the exact same fight the next 5 years of trying to figure things out that the Seahawks had for about 10 years.
I like how aggressive Diggs is in the post here, playing the down and distance. I mean, he's reading the quarterback, but if Hurts had looked here, he'd have definitely been able to make some type of hit, I think.
Yeah, you put that ball right inside the hash and you get it out at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And maybe a slight slide or diving catch from AJ.
But I don't recall seeing this type of 5-0 look with Wagner as an outside backer, do you?
No, that's pretty unique. We haven't seen something like that since like 2019 with Bobby in particular.
So that I mean, this was cool. They tried it earlier, and I think there was a penalty, and then it was like a long down and distance where they didn't need to do it. But there's one snap of it, but it's a nice kind of change up. Blocking the back on Maffei, Griff?
I don't think so. I think that's standard pass set, but that's kind of a win for Maffei. Just loses his feet.
I feel this is more egregious. Like
that right there.
You can't let people do stuff like that. Because that is I mean, I don't want to get over exaggerate, but it's borderline dangerous because it's blindside and he's looking for the quarterback. Okay, you have to have your head in a swivel, but
yeah, in the second phase of this play, look at Diggs cut off those routes.
Yeah, he runs the whole field.
Yeah, and then was it Julian who ends up, or is it Michael Jackson who ends up contesting the ball?
Mike Jack, I think. He has a fake route as well, so good job plastering.
Yep.
Oh no, it was Julian.
And Julian's not going to let a guy get away from him ever again on the scramble drill after what happened against the 49ers.
With Purdy.
And Purdy.
Yeah.
Because he had the route and then he lost it. It just got in his blind spot. And Purdy made a good play. Julian's not going to do that again.
All right, let me catch up with the chat. Oliver, thank you so much for the donation. Happy holidays to you too. Hope you have a nice bird like in your profile picture or other food.
Thank
you, Timothy, sir. Thank you so much for the donation. I saw that earlier, but we're kind of on the offense today. But I mean, I spoke about the Sean Desai, Matt Patricia thing in a recent other episode. Griff, do you have any thoughts on Sean Desai, Matt Patricia while we're going through this?
I mean, on Patricia, I mean, I don't think anything about him. Like, it's weird, his philosophy of defense mixing in with, the Fangio world. I don't know, like, is he just coaching the Fangio stuff? Is he interspersing his own ideas? Like, that whole thing is strange to me, that setup. As far as Desai, I mean, Desai isn't doing well this year, but he's doing well. He's doing poorly in different ways than last year. So, without having kept up on too much with the Eagles, it's kind of hard to explain like why it's happening this year. Maybe there's been DB attrition that we don't know about. They did get worse at linebacker. That's hard to work with. I mean, they regressed in their back seven at linebacker. I don't know beyond that though. They still have a good front, obviously.
Yeah.
Their run defense is actually better than last year. So
absolutely. It's just weird. I mean, they're like 18th. Well, coming into this game, they were 18th in total points run defense, whereas their pass defense was 26th.
Strange, right?
Yeah. But it was funny speaking to Ben Solak because he was like, I was expecting to say they're running a lot of even fronts.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they're running a lot of odd fronts, which is helping the run defense, but it's hurting their pass rush a bit. I was like, oh my gosh, it's literally reverse situation.
So Desai learned from his mistakes last year with the Seahawks But then what's funny is that the Seahawks had better pass defense last year with the side than the Eagles do now.
Yeah.
So it's whack-a-mole.
So I found a good example, given we spoke about three bars. This is, again, an early play. But, so 3 bars. What is 3 bars? Well, this guy is the safety. He's going to play in the post. This guy's the safety. He's going to play technically in the strong hook because there's 2 here, 3 here. This guy is the curl sail player, deep third, deep third. So this is 3 strong bars, and you can see the impact that this has with the over-the-middle defense.
I love you saying curl sail. It's very Bo Pelini of you.
Well, curl flat just doesn't do it for me.
It's intuitive too, because by sailing, you're implying that you're a flat defender. So
hey, he's kind of wanting to sail here. He's pushing to and through.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you smack the crap out of this sort of stuff because your safety's coming right down into it.
Yeah.
Now, if Jalen, this is a cool play as well because there's could be 2 things going on. So firstly, we know, as everyone became an expert on it, that the weak hook player is responsible for 3 vertical, okay? So the reason that is so that if we get 4 verts, this post safety isn't responsible for going here and going here. The post safety handles the first seam, so the post safety leans to this seam, and the weak hook player, when he drops to his landmark, he sticks his foot in the ground. He's looking at 3. If 3's there, he has to take him up and back across the field, robot the route, get in the hip pocket. But there's another thing going on here. This receiver here is in a nasty split, so he's tight, so he's not lined out here by the numbers. He is inside the numbers, so that is X nasty. Look at this.
Or a Y close. Is that a tight end?
This is a tight end, so Y, I don't know.
I think they say close.
Meaning, why would he cut his split? Well, typically, especially when it's trips, they cut the split of this guy so that he can run the drag route across the field. And if we were just to play cover 3 to that, what would end up happening is drop off, and then this guy would match the route. This guy would be here. He'd probably be thinking about this. And so what you get is this route running at speed with all of these guys run off, right? Beautiful. And this guy running into a ton of space, and it's just catch and run. Remember the touchdown the Buccaneers had against the Seahawks in Munich? That sort of thing happens. And you get Troy Aikman going, was it Troy Aikman at the time?
Yeah.
He's like going, oh, there's just a bust, which it was. But he's like, they're in man. It looks like everyone's in man, but he's playing zone, idiot. Yeah. It's amazing how he played quarterback at quite a high level, and yet. Anyway, they weren't playing Y nasty, Y close. So what you do to fix this problem?
Yeah.
What, Griff?
I said they weren't doing shove alerts back then in the 90s.
No. So what you do to solve this problem is something called shove alert. So you shove your alert to shove the weak hook player. So when this corner in his deep third sees this guy run under, the corner can basically replace this guy. So when you get this pattern, the corner climbs for this route looking for work, and this weak hook, rather than getting depth to get underneath this route, he instead is shoved and takes this route back across the formation. It's basically, he becomes the 4 to first crosser, doesn't he?
Yeah. So they, and it just makes it easier to leverage that crossing route. It's a really good coverage tool to have. So Bobby's there.
So watch Mike Jackson immediately pointing. the route. Now, Bobby is looking at the quarterback, but he does stick his foot in the ground, and it might be because the quarterback's setting up as well, but he sticks his foot in the ground ready to run with this, I think. Meanwhile, Mike Jack's ready to overlap this route, and Quandre Diggs is just playing in his landmark. He gets the fun job where he gets to go whack-a-mole.
Mm-hmm. And right, like Diggs isn't supposed to be the primary guy, but he's well leveraged for it. He has a good trigger, and that's why they want him involved in the strong hook, because he can take care of the deeper read at the intermediate. Like he's playing the dig
He's so
zone.
good coming from depth.
Right. He's playing the dig zone primarily, and then he holds his depth until break on the ball, and he breaks on the ball, forces a
and
pass.
You see Wagner gets really pumped up about this because this is pretty high level cover 3 communication.
Yeah.
Like we've passed this off. Wagner stuck his foot in the ground to drive with it. He knows he's got to make up the ground eventually, but he also knows he has help here who should, with this guy coming back across, be able to help out on the route. And so it's just bang, punish the check down. So it's this high level 3 buzz play. And with a shove alert. And as usual, if if we didn't explain something quite right or we didn't go over it enough, Twitter search just shove alert in quotation marks. There's examples Griff will have tweeted.
There's the best one of all time.
Oh,
is Earl and Sherm.
Oh my God.
Earl is the rotating. So
Oh
Earl
my
Thomas
God.
would be in Bobby's position as the weak hook. He comes down on it against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Unreal play.
Yeah, he was so cracked.
Earl is there's not going to be another Earl Thomas for a long time, I don't think.
No.
Do you want to get it up just so people chat? Do you want to see this play I'm talking about?
Chat like the video if you want to see Earl Thomas shove alert. Like and subscribe.
All right, Matt, I'm sending it to you.
I found it, I think. Oh my God. Yes.
Because they're making this decision making on the fly. This isn't read and reacting. This is they're processing various things happening.
Yeah. So this is cracked as well because look how they're showing 2 high safeties. Vic Fangio invented that. So fairly wide split, but they're still alert to shove this player. So
because
this
it was something on film, right? Because they do that a lot.
Right, right.
X shallow.
Yeah. So this is 3 weak bars. So Earl Thomas is technically the weak hook defender. Strong hook is Wagner. KJ Wright's the curl flat.
I think Sherman's Malcolm.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sherman's the 3rd. Reroute curl flat on the 2.
Hang
deep
buzz,
3rd. Pardon?
Hang buzz.
Hang buzz, yeah. And then we can't use buzz because then it gets confusing. But anyway, here's the post 3rd Cam Chancellor.
Yeah.
So basically, Earl Thomas from depth is doing what Bobby Wagner did in that last play. So if we just walk this through, Earl's trying to disguise like he's going to the post. Right, now he's creeping down. So he is responsible primarily for this, but they clearly knew from tape what they were getting here.
It's a nuts play. And look at Sherm. Look at Sherm trust it and spin to or replace for the final 3.
Yeah, Sherm takes the original 3 up. So,
by the way, look how explosive and twitchy Bobby looks in his hook drop. It's just night and day, man. It's so different.
Yeah.
Rewind it a little bit so people see like how explosive Bobby looks in his strong hook drop.
And lining tight as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just 1 yard outside the hash to the field. I might have said 1 yard inside the hash,
but it's like butter for Bobby then, and it's not like that anymore.
No.
Anyway, And then the range for Earl to come make this, like Bobby still makes the play, even if Earl doesn't. But it just speaks to the one. It's seen the mechanic play out so perfectly,
Yeah.
and then the
And
execution.
this is also why pass rush matters, because you could look pretty silly. I know Sherman's climbed for that, but he is technically flat-footed there, right? But
Yeah,
they know that everyone's on the same page and that the rush is going to force this ball out to this route, and that they're not expecting that, and then so they hit it. So that's what it requires.
yeah. So
Yeah.
high level cover 3, and they've been doing it for a while.
So Griff, Ripley's dime. Should we talk about that, or is that for another day?
No, let's do it.
Right. What do we have a specific play to look at?
I think there
We'll
was
probably
one around
find one.
23, 24-minute mark.
Well, we should say it. It felt like they played a ton of dime in this game, but I'm seeing that Kobe Bryant only played 6 snaps, which seems way too low.
I mean, 6 snaps of dime probably is a lot when you're ingesting it, watching it without really paying attention. That would register as a lot, I think.
Right. And why dime is significant, guys, is because generally Seattle, when they're in nickel, so they've got 5 DBs, they've got a down safety, and then they've got a nickel on the opposite side. Generally, they match cover 3 with the down safety taking one of the seams. If the number 2 on his side runs a seam, he'll match it. We're talking 2x2 here, and then the nickel doesn't match it. Generally, there's some exceptions, but when dime happens, Seattle just seem honestly a lot of their plays it ends up looking like man to man, or Griff Ripley's.
Yeah, which is cover 3 with both slot defenders carrying if the slot receiver runs a vertical route. Is what happens. So, and the premise of which is to be able to play more aggressively, more tight to the routes. The downside of it is that the running back can become a problem on the check down because you have more players downfield and then less players available to tackle the check down. If they do their job well and force the ball to be checked down, there's less players available to tackle him. And then it's misconstrued on the broadcast as quote unquote soft zone, when really a running back with a bunch of yardage in front of him, a bunch of grass in front of him, can often be the product of an aggressive zone. That's what happens. The more aggressive you are on the routes at the intermediate level, the more space there could be for the running back. So you have to do different things for the hook defenders to manage that.
So this play isn't Ripley's, but it stands out to me because this is 3-week buzz, right? But look how aggressive they play this. Like they up the heck out of the route matching. Like Bobby's just basically cheating the heck out of 3. This is the weak hook, but Bobby cheating the heck out of 3. I mean, really, the hook curl would be there, expanding into the curl window. They're really kind of ramped up to what the Eagles want to throw. Jeez, I'd go insane watching this Eagles offense.
It's like being fed dry chicken and rice. That's unseasoned.
No soy sauce or anything?
Nothing. Just
no.
over and over and over again, with the occasional dumpling when he takes off and does something cool or hits a go ball. It's like, okay, that was nice. Okay. Oh, chicken and rice again? Oh, right. Look at these.
This plays weird,
tackles,
Griff.
man.
So is this is Ripley's, do you think, or is this 1?
What is going on here?
Yeah, see, this is the type of stuff which happens. I think this is 1.
Yeah.
But
There's
it's
nothing
weird
about Brooks that this is a hook.
Well, I think this is the hook. If
it
were
it's because it's okay, they changed the strength. I was thinking, yeah, Brooks is technically on the weak side. Yeah, it becomes formation in the boundary. That's why I was messed up. Yeah, that's cover one. Oh wait,
Yeah.
the corner.
Yeah. I mean, what on earth is going on here, spacing wise? I don't know, but this is what happens when they start really matching stuff. It gets quite confusing.
See, Love doesn't seem like a hook here at all to me.
No, no. But then that's quite ballsy to play man to man like that in a 2nd and 10.
And then you have a fast 3, right? And
Yeah, so
Bobby
it could
doesn't
be like a
play it like a
bunch
weak hook.
thing.
Bobby doesn't become a backside hook. Yeah, it's man. It's cover one rat.
But a lot of, for whatever reason, a lot of Bobby's drops in the second half were just this. They're just straight back.
Yeah.
Whether he was a rat or whether he was in cover 3, they were just straight back.
Yeah.
Like here, which we've just seen, I think.
Yep.
Because this is 3, but it's no, it's not. We haven't seen this. It's the same pass concept basically, but like, look how much they're packing here.
Right.
They're just leaving this on an island. If Hertz could throw the field curl,
Well, he can. He just won't ever read that side.
no, he just reads the one-on-one backside.
So this is where Bobby plays the dig window decently. Well, actually, he might
No.
even get too far over.
He overplays it again.
Bobby, why are you getting so wide, man? Play the hash. Cody Barton would not dare move past the strong hash, man. And if he does, he'd haul ass back to get inside it.
I'm trying to find that Brooks play. You know, the one where he like weak hook drops, but it looks like one.
Yep. I do know exactly what you're talking about, and it's like perfect too.
Yeah, what plays that? Because that's a perfect Rip Liz example. You put it in the chat, in the DM.
Oh, the timestamp.
Oh, so this, Griff, this is freaky. Watch this. Watch this. What the fuck is this?
So they're showing man, right? They're showing man pre-snap and then playing
3, but then they're playing with a nickel carry.
Yeah, Clint Hurt, what were you up to this past week? And then, yeah, I remember thinking like, this is so cool and doesn't matter because Love is just going to go to it's still a half field read again.
So you'd say this is 3 weak bars with the nickel carry? Because the nickel's like the down safety and he gets a vertical route.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say?
I'd say so. Oh, it's empty. Okay. Yeah. They do this a lot. So Kobe basically is playing down safety, like you said. So it's seam alert on the weak side.
Yeah. So this is like man, and then here's the zone.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just playing 5/3 front side, and it's just a disguise.
But like, watch what's asked of Wagner here.
Yeah, and that's what he should do. Stay on the hash, because he's protecting a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think it's
so that's really the Eagles' concepts that they called helped, but in the second half it just felt what helped Seattle was the coverages they played, like 3 bars, 1 rat. Wagner's just from his initial alignment is just asked to just go like this, and that's it.
Yeah.
We haven't talked, Griff, about how impressive Mike Jackson was.
He's a hooper, man.
Yeah. Oh, here's another example of 3 weak bars this time.
Yeah, and you can see how inverted Hank makes it really hard on the corner.
Yeah, especially when you're going to play like really helping out here. But that's why they space this inverse tank, like you said, yeah.
Good rush from Draymond Jones. I don't dislike Draymond on the edge. It's just not enough because he's 280.
Let me try find a good example of we've kind of done Ripley's, even though I didn't find the good play. Did you find it in the chat?
All right, give me 1 sec.
Because I've got a good example for Draymond. Or like 5 tech back. I think it was 30 something. Like I think we were close to it. Do you need me to find it?
I'm scrolling up.
You just called it Ripley's in the chat.
32-38.
There we go. Here we go, chat. So this is going to be a good example of what we're talking about. So this looks like cover 1 to the untrained eye because of how they match the nickel, and they would have presumably matched the down safety, or maybe they were only matching to the field. I don't know.
Yeah. So you can see how, because they're carrying both seams, now they don't have a weak seam to carry, but if he did carry, if 88 did go upfield, Love would carry it. Because they have both seams being carried, they don't have any strong hook help. So Bobby's the strong hook. He can hug the check down, but I do like that they're allowing Brooks to be activated to give help on potential crossers, and Brooks has the athleticism to do that, and he runs
especially with 2 chipping, right?
Yeah,
like with 2 chipping, then you know that the flow's likely to be like that.
It's so what's smart about Brooks is immediately thinking Y cross. That's what this is. He knows that the Y cross progression, you have a weak flat, so he knows the tight end chips. That must mean he's running a flat route.
Yeah,
he sees the running back.
The flow is
meshing. It must be a play action concept. So he puts it together. Look where his eyes go immediately. That's Brooks knowing football, man.
And we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them play cover 3 like this for a minute, have we?
We have not. It was.
And how much of that do you think Jamal Adams' style as a nickel?
I mean, Artie's a corner,
had Spoon,
right?
Though.
But, right. They did a little bit of it where we really couldn't tell in the Rams game or the Lions game. Remember, we're like, is this cover 1 or cover 3? This is clearly cover 3.
Yeah, but it looks like 1. But what's cool is you get like many layers. You get check down, you get this guy, you get this or this, and you get this.
Yeah. Now we should say this is good coverage from Artie. Like that's part of like we're taking it for granted almost, but
yeah, because that's a very difficult role.
Yeah. That's Devontae, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, still. Now he scrambles anyway for. Oh wait, what is Reed doing? Is Reed mirror stepping? No. Never mind.
No, just reading the center slide, I think. And yeah, that's yeah.
Once upon a time.
Yeah.
That play is made by 54 at the 45-yard line.
Yeah. And that's also why the less eyes you have looking at the quarterback, Brooks turning away, basically man here, then this is the only guy who can really make a play if they break the pocket contain.
Right.
Which is why people play pure zone or only match 1 seam. But yeah, I'd love to ask Pete Carroll, like, hey, why are you now playing like Ripley's? And he'd be like, shut up.
Well, the way you get him is you're like, hey, coach, for the longest time, you guys have, when you were in cover 3 presented with the threat of 4 verticals or at least 2 seams from a 2x2 formation. For the longest time, you'd carry with the down safety and spot drop the other side. It seems like last year you were content with carrying both seams, and this year maybe a combination. Can you speak on what the general football considerations are for wanting to carry 1 seam versus 2 in cover 3, coach? And then you see what he says, see if he shoots you or not.
Over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna ban Matty from the chat.
But you see how Hurts.
Russell Wilson.
Oh dear.
Russell.
What was the last thing we were going to look at, Griff? I said it. I'm just getting.
Oh, let me
We don't
check.
need to look at Kelsey Pinpool.
Oh yeah, that was what it was. Yeah, we don't need to do that.
Let me catch up with what's going on in the chat.
There have been questions throughout.
I have seen that.
What to do about Jamal?
John, we kind of done that tonight. There's obviously different ways, but generally a hook curl drop is 10 to 12 yards. And then you relate to the number 3 receiver or the number 2 and the number 2 receiver.
And it's also going to change on what different teams do out of those formations. So like when we say like be inside a yard inside the hash or a yard outside the hash, when they would see a lot of sail where it's like the number 2 breaks out, Bobby would push wide because you need to get underneath that thing all the way to the sideline. If they'd face a dagger team, he would want to melt back inside the hash to get underneath that dig route. If you want to see it, just type in the word sail thread in my account, sail thread from @CMikeSpinMove. I literally have like 10 plays of Bobby pushing on an out route from a number 2 receiver in cover 3. Then if you also type in dig or dagger, you'll probably see examples of maybe some of Bobby, but some of Brooks and Cody Barton melting underneath the dig route, doing a really good job of just knowing where that window is and getting underneath it without actually seeing the route, just it being in the periphery and then knowing what the quarterback is doing and just putting the whole like reverse engineering the entire picture.
Yeah, it's definitely not a dumb question, John. It's a very good question. Brandon asking, I know this isn't relevant, but was the struggle from the linebackers last year because the D-line was so poor at keeping them clean? Well, Brandon, when I asked Pete Carroll in his press conference how they were this year playing the nose tackle on the outside shoulder of the guard. Oh, I need water. It's so traumatic. Whereas last year they were playing the nose tackle on the inside shoulder of the guard, whereas this year they're playing the nose tackle on the outside shoulder of the center. And why they'd made that change, he went to how everything's just cleaner and the second level's playing cleaner, basically. And that's essentially what last year was just okay, they were it wasn't really that they weren't keeping them clean, it's just that everything was so hazy for the linebackers and it just wasn't clear and no one was playing together. This year there's a much better, clearer understanding of playing together on a string.
Yeah, and it also needs to be said that even if you were to isolate good clusters of plays of the scheme last year, like the over G front, well defended, where everyone kind of does their job, like you're still talking about stopping a duo run for 2 yards when it could have been 0 or a tackle for loss had they played the scheme they're playing this year. So it was harder on the defensive tackles individually. It was harder on the linebackers individually. But it was also just the scheme itself, like, isn't necessarily good. You know, like, I mean, it has a theory. There's a theory behind it. That's why it exists. The league, we have seen teams defend the run well out of it before. But you look at the rosters of those teams and they have like an all pros on their D-line, you know, and then I think teams learn the wrong lessons from when they make a scheme work. They're like, I'm going to do this at this stop in this city. And then it's like, oh, I don't have those players. It's like Gus Bradley in Jacksonville, which then, you know, the year he leaves, Jalen Ramsey comes of age and they have an insane pass rush. And lo and behold, they do have the players. But you know what I mean? Like Gus Bradley learned the wrong lessons, I think, from his time in Seattle. and trying to replicate something that came about organically. It wasn't Pete working backwards from the conclusion of cover 3. It was, let's put together a scheme that works with the available players, and the whole cover 3 meme came about naturally. So,
yeah. Now, where did it start? I always lose the comments. Kerry, you mentioned Ripley's was a D-line slant call pre-snap when I played. Lol, this is way more complicated. Well, that's because it's directional, right? Like Rip, you're slanting to the right. Liz, you're slanting to the left. The Ripley's terminology that we know it as is still a directional deal, where essentially, and you know, Seattle might call it something different, but when we talk about Ripley's, it means the Saban way, or it's not just unique to him, but it's the way of matching both seams with both overhang defenders. But when Saban used it, he would say, rip, 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 which would tell the linebackers there's a safety coming down to my right. So if I'm on the left, I have to be the backer and I have to match the seam to my left. But if I hear rip, 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 and I'm the backer on the right, I know I don't need to worry about the match because the safety's coming down to the outside on my side. So it's like a really old, like 3-4 way of matching both seams. But they'd use a line back in the day. They were like a 3-4, and the linebacker would match one seam and the safety would match the other seam. But they'd crucially both seams would be matched. Whereas Pete Carroll generally only matched one seam, with the down safety handling the first seam and the post safety leaning his post to the second seam if they got 4 verts. Which, if you want to look at that, Google soft sky. But it's still directional, Kerry, the Ripley's idea.
Yeah. So.
Right. What else do we have, Griff? Is that us done?
Yeah, if you guys want to get in questions, I don't know. We can do a
questions. Like the video. Follow Griff at C Mike Spin Move. Follow me at Matty F Brown. We didn't do Jason Kelsey pulling, but yeah. I guess, Griff, how good do you feel about the defense after this game? Kind of bringing it full circle from where we started.
One game sample size is one game sample size. They ultimately played a very talented offense and bottled them up. You take that, and this isn't completely out of nowhere. We've seen traces of this throughout the season, so this isn't just like a one-off performance. So everyone, I don't think there was hardly any assignment errors. That's, again, not a hard scheme to do that against, but still. So I'm generally positive about it. I think it's a great game. It's a great jumping off point to go play the Titans and have confidence, and then the Steelers and the Cardinals, I think. To really finish off strong and just show that you can get back to what you've showed in the middle of the season before the Ravens game. And honestly, some games here and there since then where they've been better than the stats would make you think. But you gotta put it all together. So, and they did this without any splash plays in terms of sacks. They didn't have major losses in the backfield. I think maybe 2 TFLs. They had 1 sack, or did they even? So they just choked them out all night. They played slow and choked them out in a good way. They didn't win them with egregious, overt negative plays. They just didn't give up anything positive, really. That's a sign. That's a sign of a good defensive performance. 0 sacks, says Connor. Thank you, Connor. Olschlager, if I pronounced that right, I hope I did.
Olschlager.
There you go.
Olschlager? I don't know.
Oh,
depends if Connor's from.
ER.
Depends if Connor's from Germany or America or Austria or I don't know. Given there's no umlaut involved there, I would. Oh, Connor, who did? Griff or
That's pronounced Jesus.
Jesus. Okay. Well, no, if there's... Oh, here we go. SD Vogel. We actually have questions here, Griff. Is Jamal Adams and Bobby Wagner too many slow people in one defense? Probably, yeah. I mean, it really got accented when Devin Witherspoon left against the 49ers. It probably is.
Well, if we think of Jamal in terms of linebacker speed, like if when they're in dime and when they're in big dime, he's playing jack basically. I don't think so. I mean, he's probably running what, a 4.6 flat right now, maybe a 4.65.
I know. On my stopwatch, I had him at 4.7.
What was Julian Love's 40-yard dash? He's a 4.55 guy. Julian Love isn't that fast either. And that honestly shows up. But he had a good game, so I'll give it to him. I mean, he had a really good game. The whole Julian Love thing recently is, I think, driving me a little insane.
No.
Like, he's been bad this year, hasn't he? Like, coming off the heels of the 49ers game, people were criticizing Jamal, as they should. He gave up a huge touchdown. But Julian also had, 3 explosives he gave up? And then his one interception was him getting cooked on a route, and he got lucky the ball got tipped to him. Like he had a great game against the Eagles, but this guy is the most targeted safety in the league this year.
He had it rough, that's for sure.
But he played well against the Eagles, and hopefully we see more of it.
I hope so. I mean, what's encouraging, and I'll have a video on it. I'll have a video on Julian Love's interceptions, but they were like issues he'd had previous year. So it's cool that he kind of made good on that, improved on that. Jay says, sounds like Ryan Tannehill will play on Sunday. Any thoughts on him versus the young quarterback whose name escapes me at the moment? Assume you mean Malik Willis. Well, there'll be a Tennessee Titans preview tomorrow.
Yeah, there we go. Got to tune in.
But Tannehill would, I don't know. I'm slightly afraid of that.
I will always be afraid of Ryan Tannehill. If there's someone to throw a dig route to on his team, I'll always be afraid of Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's DeAndre Hopkins. Although he is a limited participant in practice.
He doesn't really run a bunch of digs, though, does he? I don't know how they've used him.
Hey, he'll run a dig.
He got 900 yards this year. A very quiet 1,000-yard season.
He always does that. It's crazy how the amount of quarterbacks he's played with.
Yeah. And he was only a second-round pick that they traded for him in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, and they're trying to make Burks work, aren't they? But
I think he's been hurt.
Yeah.
Although Hopkins has only caught like 50% of his passes, that's not good.
It's not
so
good.
they're just vomiting him the ball right now. All right.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Like the video, comment down below. This is an audio format podcast, which probably works best not on the tape episodes, but we try and sprinkle in a bit of non-tape stuff for the listener too. Just find us on your podcast out, give us a 5-star review because that helps the show. Please do share the show with people so that we can keep it growing. It's great to have returning names in here, even though, I mispronounce them and etc. etc. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back tomorrow with the Tennessee Titans preview, and then Griff may be there, maybe not, but I'll also have a post-game show Christmas Eve.
Actually,
I will be.
Actually, I can do it on Sunday now.
Yes.
But it'll have to be like closer to 5, I think.
I will be quite merry, I imagine, because I have a family meal. So hopefully Seattle kind of fits the mood there, and it doesn't become a sorry Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor. Enjoy Attack of the Clones.
Thank you, Taylor. I'm going to watch Rebel Moon, I think. Horrible reviews. I will watch the extended cut when it comes out. Because, in fairness, is Zack Snyder. But, dude, Snyder cannot, cut a film in post for his life. He needs to hire a better editor or something. Like a master editor who can put together the movie. Because I don't know. I don't know what his deal is, man. I did watch The Last Kingdom. The man Robert, that's so funny. I watched that last night. They did that movie, and it's like my relationship with that show is so weird because it's not that good, but I enjoy the heck out of it at the same time. I love the characters. I've seen the entire show, Robert, and then I watched the movie last night, The Seven Kings Must Die. Yeah, I've seen every minute of that whole series. Uhtred of Bebbanburg is a mad lad. Uhtred is like Earl Thomas to me, football-wise. Just like going hard in the paint, throwing himself, missing tackles, but still affecting the play. Stabbing people. Anyway.
I understood all of that, so that's great.
Matty, this is your history we're talking about. We're talking about when England was like 7 kingdoms, and before it got unified.
Is that what that show is?
Yeah, you got Northumbria, you got Wessex, you got Mercia.
Ever seen Northumbria's flag?
No, is it wild?
It's good.
Are all of the old 7 kingdoms the names of like regions and counties and such?
Well, districts?
Yeah. You still use them all?
What is like Northumberland now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, I got nostalgic for it as soon as the final series ended last year, the final season last year. Yeah. Now I'm going to watch Vikings Valhalla. Although it seems I'm on the first episode. It seems really corny. I could only get through 20 minutes before I fell asleep last night. Anyway.
I'm going to tidy my kitchen.
Okay.
Goodbye.
For 2 hours. Good Lord.
Yeah, this was a tape episode.